Hello and welcome to the match report. A happy match report as 3 points have. We got a few 3-pointers here. We got a few no pointers here. That's the way it goes. But anyway, I'm happy, Basil. Basil, are you happy? Are you happy, Basil?
Of course, as I told people many times, trust the process.
Oh, have you now?
Trust the process.
So we're starting this podcast by lying. Okay.
Trust the process.
Wow.
You're top of the table. I told you all.
Really? All right, cool then. That's what we're going to lead off with. Coach, how you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm good, man. My team didn't play this weekend, so I haven't been stressed. So I've had a nice weekend, quite relaxed. So yeah, I'm good. How you doing?
Kind of like Basil. I'm not even gonna lie, like, bruv. No, I'm not even gonna go there. But I'm happy. I'm very happy with the 3 points this weekend. People that aren't happy are the two to my left here, to bottom left and top left. Shyam, how you doing, sir? First time.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure to be on. Things aren't great, to be honest, as I'm sure we'll go into. But look, bottom of the table, things are hard. Forgot what a win feels like. 6 defeats in a row. I'm not even distraught anyway. It's just expected. It's a tough start to the season. But let's see.
I mean, Lawless, top that for it. How are you feeling? I mean, I guess would be bottom that because you're down there right now, aren't you?
Listen, I'm buzzing for international break is coming up. We get to see all the big games of the weekend. It's a nice international break. 2 weeks off. Can't wait. I'm so excited. The excitement is there for me. Yes. Come on, international break.
Come on, England. There we go. That's where we're going. Declan Rice match and get a win.
I said, come on. Really?
Hey, I'm
national break, but yeah, I'll listen.
Kojo does need a trim. It's the sad truth, but it is it is what it is, man. You're looking here. You're doing father duties. Don't worry about the trim, man. We got you, but we're not here to talk about ourselves. We're here to talk about match day 8. A few games that were called off because of the Queen and her funeral, but we'll talk about the games that were playing because Arsenal won, City won, Tottenham. Come on, Shyam. Ah, God. And Everton won. That's a good weekend in my book. Let's start with Arsenal, Basil, shall we? We don't need to talk about City. City's one person right now. Let's talk about the positive right now. Arsenal 3.
We don't. No, go ahead. I said we don't need to talk about teams which are top of the table first. So let's only start with teams who are number 1 at the moment.
Let's start there, man. 3 goals to 0 at Brentford, which is a very difficult stadium to get or to dominate at. I would say, but 3 goals to 0. Goals from William Saliba, Gabriel Jesus, and Fabio Vieira. Which goal you want to start with, Basil?
Let's start with Saliba.
Let's start with Saliba then. That's a very good header to start us off. I think is it Thomas Frankie was singing his praises, saying that he's going to be a full-blown international very soon.
Yeah, I mean, he settled in well, Saliba. I think when I look at him, he's one person that actually wants to defend. Like you can tell, his time in France has done well. Even though I questioned, Arteta sending him out on loan for 2 seasons running, but he seems to have like greater awareness around him than the other Arsenal defenders. I still don't rate Ben White that highly. Gabriel, he has his moments where he lacks concentration. But I think Saliba, you can tell like he's one that wants to learn. He's one that wants to improve as a defender. And you can see like he's taking on those lessons that he's learned in France into England, and he's settling very well. I mean, like I said, I'm excited for his future at Arsenal. My only concern is maybe the contract situation, because sometimes if you have that good of a season, if let's say he continues this form throughout the entire season, all it takes is for one club to buzz in the ear of his agent, and then obviously things start to become a bit more difficult. So if I was Arsenal, I would look to tie him down as soon as possible in regards to that. But yeah, no, it's a great start at centre back. I feel more assured with him at centre back. I mean, we've had to watch the likes of Rob Holding, Callum Chambers. I mean, yeah, we'll stop there because we see some terrible defenders.
Squillaci.
Why'd you have to go that far? We've had some torrid defenders in our time, so it's nice to see actually some decent defenders at Arsenal.
You see there, Kojo, Basil slipped into his old self. He was there, his old self at the start of that praise. It was meant to be praised, but he started off bad with negativity about Gabriel, who's been good this season, negativity about Ben White, who's been good this season, and then he was talking about Scolacci and them, man, and Rob Holding them, man. They're like,
Yeah, man.
Where's the praise? Give me some positivity about Arsenal.
It's hard. I've suffered for too long, so slowly but surely, all the negativity will start to erode from me. But at the moment, it's still there. The stain of Arsenal of the last few years is still there.
We got some fresh blood scoring goals for Arsenal. Gabriel Jesus, who thinks 7 goals and assists in 7 games. Kojo, I mean, his start has been pretty much electric.
Yeah, he started well. I mean, I think there was a doubt from a lot of people when he came from City. Not that he was a good player. I think that was never in question. But in the case of, would he be ready to be the talisman, the number 9 for not only Arsenal, any club he would have moved to in that moment in time? So going to Arsenal, it was a question. But I think it's difficult to judge a player who has Sergio Aguero as competition on a consistent basis as a number 1 striker. But he's come to Arsenal and he's proven from the jump that he's a top player. He presses well. His decision making is good. He's confident. He attacks with the ball. His finishes are quite clinical in the best of moments anyway. But yeah, I think more than anything, what Arsenal missed last season was a striker who not only helped link up, but also a striker that was very intent on getting goals. I don't think you had that in Lacazette. Obviously, you had the debacle with Aubameyang that led to his exit. So you needed someone to come and take that mantle and get goals, and he's been the guy. And he's going to help everyone else get goals in that team as well. I mean, the players around him, there's still a question of, can they finish their dinner? Is their end product still there? Because, for example, Martinelli had a chance in the first half where he slipped. It's unlucky he slipped. It wasn't a case of, anything stupid. He just sort of missed. He lost his footing and then he didn't strike it well enough. Saka is still here and there his end product, but you see the quality is growing in the Arsenal team, especially going forward. Fabio Vieira came in. Odegaard wasn't missed. He scored a lovely goal. It's stuff like that helps. And I think Gabriel Jesus being the forefront of the Arsenal attack helps that on many occasions. That's what you see a lot of the goals this season. He does play quite a part in that. So he started off well. It's a good start. I should have cancelled this podcast. It's gonna be praising Arsenal. He's doing well, man. He's doing well.
Shyam, I want you to keep heaping on the praise for Arsenal here. No, I'm only joking. You can be as truthful as you want to be. I mean, I'm an Arsenal fan here. Basil obviously singing his praises, saying we're top of the league. Arteta and trust the process. Something that he has been vehemently against since his signing at Arsenal. But it is what it is. You got to love to see. It's nice to see some positivity from you, Basil. But no, our Arsenal fans getting a bit too ahead of themselves here with the way that Arsenal are playing and the teams that they've played so far.
Do you know what? I actually don't think they are, and it hurts to say it. It's nice as a Leicester fan to see sort of the traditional top 6 teams struggle from time and time again, right? And I've enjoyed it over recent years, to be honest with you. But to be honest, Arsenal are well and truly playing very, very good football this season. I've said it in a couple of WhatsApp groups. I've used the phrase "Arsenal are back." I'm hoping I can sort of go back on that comment and laugh at myself. But honestly, I don't think that we will be. I think, look, it's a young team. Average age of 24, I think, if my numbers are correct. So, the only way is up for this team. The front 3 is incredible, right? Jesus with Martinelli and Saka. It said with Odegaard sort of playing behind them, it's been a very good start. They haven't had the easiest of games. Some of the games, in previous years are draws for Arsenal. That Fulham game, right? I mean, I know they got a lot of stick on social media for celebrating the way they did, but I mean that's a big win to turn the game around like that quite late on. In recent years, that's a draw, if not an L for Arsenal. So, come on leaps and bounds. This whole trust the process piece. Maybe people are trusting it now. Yeah, a lot of Arteta outs are changing to Arteta ins. Let's see when January, February comes, and they've been through that tricky period of coming back from World Cup, most of team out and about. It'll be interesting, but I think things are looking good. Not a bad word to say at this minute. I just think if Arteta does this right, he's got to play the kids in Europe and not worry about Europa League this year. I think focus on the Premier League, and they'll be. I don't think there's much doubt about them finishing top 4 if they continue like this.
Positive. Lawless, I'm coming to you, sir. Is there going to be a positive reaction to this Arsenal, or are you just going to be the big old sourpuss that you always are about Arsenal? Come on, Lawless.
All respect to Shyam, right? But I cannot disagree more with what he just said. Right, so many levels, right? First of all, I don't think you should be just playing the kids in your. Okay, yeah, you can get top 4. Like, why throw away the potential at a trophy, a European trophy, for the sake of getting top 4? Even if you finish second, like, surely as an Arsenal fan, you'd rather win the Europa League than finish in second. But obviously, it's, cup competitions, you can always get knocked out. So it's not to say play the kids in the league and concentrate on the cup, but you need to be, in my opinion, taking that seriously, because as well, it's another route into the Champions League. So if and when it does all go wrong, you have that other route, into it. But I listen. You've been good, but I do think Arsenal fans are getting ahead of themselves. I do honestly, because. The European games haven't started yet. You're not at that level playing 2 games a week. We dealt with it. Leicester dealt with it as well. We had to play with it last season. Obviously, you didn't have that last season, so which helped, and it hurt us massively. And I think to the degree it affected Leicester as well. It does. Like whoever team you play, the traveling and all of that stuff. We're even finding like players that aren't playing on a Thursday. It still affects them on a Sunday, that schedule. So I do think that there'll be a sort of a coming down period. I don't think you're going to fall off completely by the wayside, but I don't think you'll be what's the word I'm looking for? I don't think you'll be winning week in, week out for the remainder of the season. You're going to start to see some of them results. And I think there is a reliance as well on certain injury-prone players. Which is an issue, especially Partey in the midfield. Obviously, Tierney's injury prone. I think Zinchenko got injured, has picked up an injury, isn't he? Yeah. Tomiyasu is injury prone. So there's a few players there that are key components where they get injured. Everything else seems to be affected. That's what I hear from Arsenal fans. Like whenever, like say the Man United game, if we had this player, we would have won. Or, that's the issue, is that squad depth for me. And you've got Jesus as well, who's looking decent, he's looking good, but after him you've got Nketiah, who Nketiah has improved from what you expected him to be, but he's not going to be the guy. He can't step in if Jesus gets injured. So yeah, I'm just saying, like, it's too early to be like, Arteta is the guy. We should have all seen it. We should have seen it coming. He was the savior. You went on a big run under him last season, and then it ended with you guys falling out of the flipping top 4. So your run is starting earlier, and maybe you look at some of them games and you go, okay, maybe you would have lost to Brentford last season. Well, you did lose to Brentford last season away. So now but then maybe there was another game that you would have won away. I can't remember if last season was the season that you beat Man United away from home. It was, wasn't it? You beat Man United. You beat Man United. So it's all swings and roundabouts. You lost to Brentford last season away, and you beat them this season away. You lost them. You beat Man United last season away, and you lost them this season away. So it kind of balances out. But you're looking good. I can't lie. You are looking good.
Correction. They got sued on twice.
They beat us twice.
Yeah. So they beat us at the big toilet. But other than that,
it was a draw. Was it a draw? Wasn't it?
No, we beat them 3-2.
Oh yeah, that was it. Sorry.
So they haven't changed much history in that regard, but. Other than that,
Fair play, yeah. No, like I said, it's not. I'm not saying Arsenal fans need to be dour or need to be scared or worried. I'm just saying, like, all of this, like, it's now Arteta's shown it. Now he's proved that he's the guy. Like, let's see how he navigates, because, you know, even Shyam said it about the World Cup. Obviously, you've got the World Cups coming up. You're going to start to go deeper into Europe. Maybe you can afford to rest certain key players in the group stages, depending on who you're playing. Once you get to the knockout stages, you know, it starts to get a little bit more shaky. And really, you want to top the group. You have to win that group. Otherwise, you have to play this stupid playoff stuff, right? And all of that business. So, yeah, a lot of football to play. And then again, you know, the Carabao and the FA Cup, depending on who you're going to be playing. Are you just going to write those off? Because I think Basil was talking about earlier, just wanting to try and do something, potential to have a cup run. Because if you're supposed to be Arsenal and you're supposed to be a big club that prides itself on winning, are you just going to throw all the cups to the wayside and focus on getting that top four? Like, no trophies matter. We have to get that top four trophy, as Wenger crowned it. You know, we're going to get Wenger's trophy. You know, is that, you know, you want to win something. So that's going to be the key. We've
done that already.
Oh, is that it? Like, we're cool. We don't need.
Oh, right, yeah,
yeah, that's it. We've got trophies in it. We've done all that. Let's do what Spurs have been doing and getting top four without the trophy. We're gonna go to Spurs right now. Like, I'm just saying, like, if he's just going to just play kids in all these cup games and just get knocked out and then go full speed with the, what does that really say about Arteta as a manager? That you're managing a team that's, you know, a big club, but you're not willing to actually be able to go on multiple fronts. Last season, we saw it. You know, he got knocked out of the FA Cup early. Obviously, he got to like the quarters or the semis of the Carabao. But yeah, then wasn't in Europe. Like, can he only do it? Does he need to have no other competitions to focus on to sustain that challenge?
I was saying this. I think the boards. If I'm going by the boards thinking, I think they won't mind if Arsenal don't win no trophies. I think for them, top four is a priority, and obviously with me, I'm at the stage where I'm just enjoying it at the moment. No criticism, no nothing. Enjoying it because I don't know how the season's going to end. Honestly, I don't even trust Arsenal for top four. But at the moment, I'm just like, enjoy it. Because it's been a while since we've had like a period where we can say the football's decent and the results are coming in. It's been a while. So for me, it's like, well, enjoy it and see what happens at the end of the season. And yeah, the top four for me is a must. If we do not get top four, I'm sorry, the guy has to go the very next morning. Has to go the very next morning. Like, top four is a minimum for him. Absolute minimum. There's no excuses. Like, even if he wins like a Carabao,
you know, you're enjoying it. Are you trying to hear I told you so's right now about Arteta? The people that try to tell you about Arteta, you trying to hear? Are you like, okay, yeah, you told me so?
No, because it's too early. Because Because think of it, we can even go back to last season where we look at Chelsea, the start they had to the season, and so many, even myself, some people had them as favourites for the league, and look at the way they fell off by the wayside as the season went on. So for me, it's like I'm not letting the start deceive me. As I said, I'm enjoying it, but I'm not letting it deceive me. I'll wait till what happens, as you said, December, January, February, because like I said, we've got a World Cup coming, and we do not know what state some of these players are going to come back in. Or the injury some of these players may pick up. And that could impact a lot of teams, which I'm going to wait until the January, February period to see how we handle things. Because like I said, if we go back to last season, 3-4 games left to go, most people had Arsenal's bankers for top four. And look at what happened there. So it means that's the reason why I can't even trust this team until game 38.
I'm hearing about that Edu, apparently, according to some of your fans, doing some dark dealings behind the scenes to get your players out of these international situations.
Yeah, do whatever has to be done. Do whatever has to be done.
It's honestly, like, and because last season, getting games called off when they didn't need to be called off and postponed. And dark dealings. I'm seeing Jesus.
No. In fairness, those were legitimate reasons from Arsenal.
Okay.
Yeah.
The same legitimate reasons that they had to furlough.
We had what was it, like 1 or 2 players out with COVID? The rest were fully fit, and we needed those 2 players to play, man. That's why we called those games off.
Exactly.
Come on now, that's totally unfair.
Yeah, that's it. Got furlough, sacked Gunnosaurus. All of these things, like some dodgy business going on there.
Basil, you folded under the pressure of Lawless, man. You missed the positive, then you went back to your old
I
self.
know. I couldn't help myself.
Pessimism. That's who you were, Basil. Come on, enjoy the ride. Say we're winning the league, man. Come on,
we're winning the league. We're top of the league.
There we go.
Beautiful.
Listen,
if anyone's going to rival City, it's going to be Arsenal.
You know, I want the meme, but Basil, you know the meme of like, we're going to win the league. Of course, we're going to win the league. That's going to be the next meme.
Oh boy. I think we do have to go back to Manchester City because they were at Molineux on the weekend and they won the game 3-0. Your boy Lawless, Jackie boy. Missed 100 million. He got on the score sheet this weekend as well.
It's all worth it now, isn't it? It's all he's proven everyone wrong now. He's scored against the shit Wolves. 100 million well spent. You know, he definitely hasn't flopped.
Definitely hasn't. But Phil Foden on the score sheet. Let's talk about the main guy there, Erling Haaland. What is the stat I heard? If he continues at this rate, he's going to score 102 goals in all competitions this season. Something like 62 goals in the Premier League. Apparently, if he continues at this rate, apparently that's mathematically that's possible. So it's insane, Kojo.
Can I ask you a question? I've on the London Carling show, which is out tomorrow. I made a bet with Tobes, right? He's a Spurs fan. £100 that says I bet him that Son won't get within 10 goals of Haaland.
Oh, is that in competitions or in the league?
No, in the league. So Haaland will have 10 goals more. I think it was in the league.
He's projected for 62 in the league, so I think you might be onto that.
I need him to not get injured. Man.
Yeah, fitness is key. Is key.
He's gonna be fine fitness-wise because he's not going to the World Cup, so he gets a nice holiday. He's good.
He's got a holiday.
He's got a career in it, though.
Huh?
It's a career in the World Cup.
Oh yeah, they're in Ghana's group. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that.
I need Ghana. Hey, listen, I need one of your guys to 2-foot him. I'm not. I don't advocate getting injured, but there's £100 on the line here, mate. So.
Only when you're set to lose something, you want players to get injured. Yeah, that's the.
Yeah, I need Coach to put a word in.
Well, Haaland there, Kojo. Let's talk about it, man.
What do you want to say, man? I'm fuming. He's a monster. He's a monster. He just knows where the goal is, and he does everything he can to get goals. And he's so hard to defend against because you can be a defender that marks well, that tracks runs well, everything, but then he'll just bulldoze past you. So what is the point? What is the actual point at this? I don't know how to defend him. I criticize defending pretty much since the first ever episode of this podcast. What do you want to say to people? And right now, my head is hot because the next game Man United have is against Man City. My head is.
Did you see what Haaland did to? I don't know which defender it was, but City were breaking, and Haaland just dashes him out of the way.
Oh, yeah.
I feel sorry for Lisandro Martinez. Was it Collins? I feel sorry for Lisandro. He's going to get bullied.
No, I don't think it was Collins because Collins, I think it might have been in the second half. Collins got sent off.
Collins went early, yeah.
Which again, let's say a bit about that guy. No, he's just so difficult to defend against, man. It's becoming a joke because the one thing City didn't need, or didn't struggle with rather, is scoring goals. And then they added an absolute goal machine on top of it, who is pretty much impossible to defend. He's strong in the air, whether that's with his head or his foot. Like on 15 foot in the air as well.
Extended reach.
You know, like it's ridiculous. It's like watching John Jones in the octagon. You cannot escape him. He'll find you, he'll grab you, he'll bully you, do everything to win the game. And
do you know why, Kojo? It's because he's one of the only few players who operates at how old strikers want to operate. He doesn't care about everything else, wants to score goals. Whereas now these modern age defenders are you know, when you look at most defenders now aren't really proper defenders. We all want them to play in the ball, look fancy. So they're playing strike, so so they're learning to defend in a certain way because now strikers have a different role. You don't have like those typical kind of strikers who are just in and around the area to get a goal, or their main focus is to head towards goal. And I think that's where Haaland is thriving so much, because they don't know how to deal with those kind of players. He's always wants to be in the box. His movement is always to get forward and push people out of the way to get there. He has that determination to get there, to get on the final end of things. And all these defenders are struggling because they're like, oh, we've never really had to deal with this kind of striker in our era. And I think that's why a lot of these defenders are really struggling against him.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, you know, I think he said it best himself. If he can get 5 touches in the game and score 5 goals, that's what matters, and that's what you want from your striker. That's what you like. You know, I get it. We're in this era where people prefer, like Firmino, Benzema. Benzema does both. He can do the link up and he can get in behind and score goals. But you know, for someone like Haaland, he doesn't care about touches. He's there to do his job, which is score goals. And I've always been an advocate of that. You know,
Shyam, is that doing a bit of a discredit to Haaland's talent right here? Because I think he's one of the best finishers that maybe the game
is a phenom.
I feel like he's going to end up with a lot of goals by the end of his career. And I think that saying that we're in an era where defenders don't really know how to defend right now, which I do agree with. Don't get it twisted. I do agree with that. But I feel like he's such a talent that even if he was in any era, he would get goals.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you know, Buzz, you make a fair point, right? And there is this whole thing about old school strikers, old school defenders. Would he be the same? But let's just give the guy the credit he deserves, right? I mean, he's phenomenal. I mean, I think I mentioned him as Stretch Armstrong the other day. The way those legs, bro, when he plucks out the air out of nowhere, you think, geez. And his finishing is second to none. I mean, yeah, the touches to goal ratio, he's old school. I think his average distance from goal for his goals in the Premier League is like 7 yards this season or something ridiculous. He's just your old school out and out striker who knows where the goal is, right? He doesn't need to do anything else. And he said, when you got people like KDB, Foden, Bernardo, who's in, you know, he had a purple patch last season of scoring goals and playing phenomenal football. Sort of went slightly quietish over the summer. A lot of talks about him moving on, but sort of breath of fresh air again this season. Sort of keeping the likes of Mahrez out of the side completely on the right hand side. I know he sort of played on that, shifted over to the left, which helped Grealish the other day. But yeah, the service he's going to get is a joke, right? He does not need to do anything else. They've got 10 other players to worry about. Like, they can do that.
I'm glad you mentioned KDB, because there was a bit of a debate on Twitter the other day about him being one of the greatest Premier League midfielders ever. So top 5. Do you think, Lawless, that he belongs in that category?
Of what, in the Prem all time?
Top 5 midfielders in the Prem.
That's tough, man, because we've had some amazing players, and I feel like, as much as, you know, in a group chat stuff, we talk about De Bruyne, and a few people criticize him. I've defended him. I do think that he has had them quiet spells in seasons for Man City. Maybe it's like nostalgia talking, but I don't think he's quite top 5. We'd have to sit down and talk about, like, actually, you know, I'll pull out the players that are ahead of him. But I think that's a big step. It's a big step.
Basil, you look like
Basil's like, are you sure?
I'm shocked by this. I think he's 100% top 5. I don't think there's any midfielder in the Premier League that, when people criticize De Bruyne and they talk about maybe his quiet periods, I'm like, but what midfielder in the Premier League has had like a full season where they've consistently done it? If you go back and check any midfielder they put in the top 5, they've all had their purple patches. They've all had like their quiet periods. What we've done is, because their career is over, we've seen all the best clips of them. So that's the reason why we herald them. But that's it. The same thing with De Bruyne. When he retires and we put his clips up there, trust me, a lot of those midfielders they put in the top 5 will not be able to match some of the things that he's done. I think he's when you look at his ability and the things he's done, He's insane. I think he's definitely top 5.
I 100% agree with what you're saying, but the question was, is he top 5 today? Right?
Today,
and I think right now,
I think so. I think so.
I have no doubt about if he stays in the Premier League, he will be top 5 100%, in my opinion. Is he there today? I think that people, there's been players with longevity in the Premier League who I'd put ahead of him, but he will eclipse them. But the guy is unreal, right? And I think I'm not going to challenge anything about his ability. He has the potential to be top 3, right? But he has to. I think he needs to do it for a little bit longer to sort of get there past some of those who are in that top 5.
But my question is, how much longer? Because when you think about how many Premier League titles he's already won with City, like how many key moments he's had in those seasons, like I would put him ahead of the likes of Gerrard and Vieira. Lampard maybe is questionable because of his goals. I would honestly.
Basil,
I would.
Basil.
Do you put him ahead? Do you put him ahead of David Silva?
I put 100% put him ahead of David Silva.
But like, would you not say
100%?
It's probably different players, De Bruyne and Vieira.
Lawless, guys, I'm gonna need 5 just 2 minutes with Basil alone here. You said
Mark Noble.
Vieira. You said Patrick Vieira. Basil. That's my number 1 midfielder, Basil. And you're putting him KDB ahead of him. That is
I have to put him ahead of it. Honestly, I'm putting him ahead of most of our midfielders. Listen, if most of those midfielders we put in top 5 have done what KDB has done already, you wouldn't hear the end of it from fans. You were
talking about the quality of defending. I'm going to talk about KDB here. How many passes has he made? Fantastic. From the right-hand side, where he's had absolutely nobody around him. Don't you dare say... You can say Lampard. You can say Gerrard. You can say... You don't say Vieira, big man. You absolutely don't. As an Arsenal fan, you'll be ashamed of yourself, sir. Ashamed of yourself. Patrick Vieira. How dare you, sir?
What about Bergkamp as a midfielder? Like, what about
Bergkamp as a midfielder? Stop being disrespectful, Lord.
Why are we here? Why are we talking about it?
This guy's sending for Bergkamp now. See what you started, Basil. See what you started.
All right, Basil.
Yeah.
Who don't you have KDB ahead of? That's an interesting one.
I have?
Yeah, who is ahead of KDB for you?
The only person, and it's hard because I know I'm going to say this, but not for ability-wise, but maybe Lampard. I may have ahead of KDB personally, just because I don't think there's any midfielder in the Premier League that's done what he's done in terms of output. Obviously, ability-wise, they're not in the same category. KDB as a footballer is better than Lampard. But I think when you look at Lampard's output consistently over those years, I don't think there's anyone that's kind of matched as a midfielder that's matched Lampard's output.
Wait, but Lampard was brilliant. Wait, hold on. You said they're not close in terms of ability. You don't think?
I don't think when you look at some of the things KDB can do, I don't think Lampard can do some of it in terms of the driving with the ball, the dribbling, some of the close footwork, some of the short passes. I don't rate Lampard as a short range passer personally. Obviously, we've seen clips, but I don't rate that much.
See, Basil, this is what happens when you open your mouth and you speak negativity about Patrick Vieira. So you get looks from me and Kojo there.
Shyam is shaking his head. He's like, "Hold on, what's going on?"
And he's definitely better than David Silva. Let's.
I think.
Okay, sorry, I interrupted you. Who's he not ahead? Who's he not ahead of? You got top 5, or who's in your top 5 with KDB? Rather, make it easier.
Who's in there? Oh, I'll put Vieira's in there.
Okay.
Which number, Basil? I've got
numbers.
Vieira's behind KDB, so he must be 5th.
You know he's behind him.
I know. I think it's actually disgraceful, but it is what it is.
No. We'll put Vieira's number 2. Cahil.
No, not good enough. But anyway, continue.
Okay, so in that top 5, I'll put Vieira there. Lampard is there. Gerrard is there, but I slightly want to kick Gerrard out. But we put Gerrard there for diplomacy. I'm putting KDB there, and then who we put in 5th? I know you people want to put Scholes there. I personally don't want to put Scholes there, but I can't think of anybody else that I could put.
So you want to put the guy who's got no Premier League trophy, but he's got engine and beauty for someone that was the key man in the midfield of Man United that won 13 titles. He retired. came back and won another one.
Do you know what it is? The reason I put Gerrard there, because and it goes back to what Shyam said in terms of longevity. I'm trying to think of other Premier League midfielders or the other teams who's had that level of longevity and output. That's the reason why I can't think.
You mean Scholes, who was 20 years at Manchester United before?
No.
He was half blind when he won the last championship. Are you crazy?
What about Giggs as well? Giggs
No,
is-
definitely not Giggs.
Round here, we call him number 11 right now.
Definitely.
That's
No,
wow.
okay.
Basil, I'm gonna stop you there. We're gonna talk off air because boy, yeah.
By the way,
This might be Basil's last appearance on Free of the
No, okay. By the way, Vieira is number one, just to make things clear.
What about Roy Keane?
Nah, man. No.
Nah.
What?
To be fair, he's not part of my top 5 either. So
Really?
not for me anyway. Not for me.
He's one of the best Man United.
Actually, no, what am I
Oh,
talking
yeah,
about?
absolutely.
No, hold up. No, what
Absolutely.
am I talking about? I've just
In a
realised
team that
I've-
won the treble. He won the treble.
He wasn't in the final.
Oh, do you know what? Wait, I'm playing.
Really? He's got the medal. He got the medal.
You get
Yeah,
it, man.
that's like John Terry having the medal.
But what do you mean? Just because he won in one game out of all of
Most
them?
important game, Lawless.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. He's a legend, though.
Go on, Basil.
No, we're getting Gerrard out. How can I forget this? Francis Fabregas. How can I forget him?
Hey, stop.
How can I forget him?
Stop. Hey, next game.
Chelsea legend.
Next game.
All right, Basil. All right, hold on. Kojo and Shyam. Me and Basil need to talk to Lawless because he said something there under his breath. We didn't think we heard it. Say that again,
We
Lawless.
heard it.
Chelsea legend, man. He won a
Disgraceful.
Chelsea.
Absolutely disgraceful, Lawless. Absolutely disgraceful. This might be Lawless's last appearance.
Won the league with Chelsea. You know, won the league.
Hey, it's true.
What can
It's
you
true,
say?
man. It's like RVP, you know. So it's just
Yeah, like Van Persie, Man United. You know,
There you go.
won the league with them.
There you go.
Cool.
Was
This
it
has been another episode of Match Report. Good night, innit?
If you're talking Fabregas, you're talking Chelsea. I don't care.
Fair enough, man. That's what you believe in, innit? But anyway, let's go to the next game. I kind of want to punish Lawless for that last comment, but we're gonna have to punish Shyam first. I'm sorry, man. You are on the Saturday. Tottenham 6, Leicester City 2. And now you did mention before it's a very bleak time for Leicester right now. I can't see you getting a win anywhere. But in this game, especially this game after the first half, it was looking very positive. I feel like for the entire game, you played much better than them until their front three kind of rescued them. But I mean, the collapse. I'm honestly surprised that Brendan Rodgers is still in a job right now.
Yeah, I think. Look, that's purely financial. There's nothing else to it, right? It's a financial decision. There's lots of talk that this is it. I think this international break is when there's going to be an agreement in a package, and he's gone now. I've said it now. Look, thank you for the FA Cup. Thank you for taking us to Europe twice, 2 5th place finishes, but you're done. Get out of the club now. Like, he's lost the dressing room, right? Clearly, and we need change. If you can't change players, you got to change a manager, right? I don't think anyone. And it'd be good to hear your view here, the four of you, but I don't believe that this Leicester team is 20. Like, is
No,
20th, man. It's a joke, man. It's a joke. I mean, you look going forward. I said, like, I was at half time. I said that you cut the mistakes and we win that game, right? Son doing a Son thing. I'm not sure if you've seen a sort of a clip flying around on Twitter, but he scored an identical goal last season against us. Yeah, identical, literally exactly the same at Spurs ground, right? It happened. Kane will always score against us, but yeah, as you said, this is now beyond this 6-2, right? I mean, we can't defend. You put any half decent team, we can attack. There's a joke, right? Leicester have to score 3 to think about getting a result at any game at the minute. We're going to concede. Danny Ward I don't understand why he's in goal. I could go on to this, but yeah, look, let's talk about it's off the pitch, right? And we go back to the money situation. I was on another pod the other day, sort of explaining it, and you've seen Arsenal when they invested off the pitch have a difficult time on the pitch where there was a lack of investment in the club. Spurs went through that same period, right? And people are missing. Actually, the owners this time round have decided the investment is about the longevity of the club. Now, if we fall out the Premier League, I mean, what's the point, right? But ultimately, they've invested £100 million in arguably the best training complex, right? We want to attract youngest players. I think there was a stat that I think we had, 9 of our under 23s are from or have been with our academy since the age of under 9. Some ridiculous. It's the great, right? So we're looking to build that on top of So financially, that's where it is. There's whole new stadium expansion plans as well as the area and regeneration. The owners have always developed not only the club but the community, etc. Right? So their focus has been there. And Brendan's clearly been given a goal this season of stay up. But is Brendan the man to take you through a dogfight? I don't think so. Right now, it's about getting results. We need to get rid of this nice football, trying to play good football. This season, it's got to be go and get 40 points, right? And it hurts to say that because we've had now, 7 years of continuous development and growth. People are talking about Leicester replacing X in the top. Yeah, I've never said we're replacing it. I just said the top 6, right? My guess was they wouldn't be the top 6 for the next 10 years. I said this 5 years ago, and they're all there. Okay, last year it formed again. I think you ask the same question in 5 or 10 years' time. Is it going to be a top 6? I don't believe it. I think you're going to have a top 8 or a top 10 going forward. Used to be the top 4. We're at a top 6 now. That's only going to grow with the money invested in the club. But yeah, we've got problems. He's got to go for me.
I mean, Kojo, Basil, Lawless as well. I should know Lawless. I think you were a Brendan Rodgers fan. I
thought it was a good man. I would have, like, when he was obviously in Scotland, like even before then, like I would have taken him. But it's interesting, like from an outside perspective, this is just my perspective of it. I just look at it and I think, obviously, look, 20th is a disgrace for Leicester. But I do look at some of the investment on the team. I feel like that team, and you've got like some really good players, but it needed freshening up. Needed some fresh bodies in there that I don't feel like they've got, like some key signings to improve. When I saw the James Maddison interview, which I think, he came off really well, it didn't seem like Rodgers had lost the dressing room just from that. Obviously, you can't read into that. Players wasn't be positive, but he was quite, earnest about it and like, the problems and in the team, and that they're trying to do what the manager wants or whatever, and it's unfair because managers getting the blame when they're not the ones doing it. That's kind of the tone about it. So it seems to be that it's one of the things. It's hard to put your finger on the problems, but I just feel like, and it's mad to sort of see that, and we're having our own issues with West Ham, and we're worried, and I can see why Shyam's worried, but I still think it's too early to start thinking, okay, we need like a Big Sam type manager to come in and short things up. Like not Big Sam, but like we need to just get to them 40 points because it can still be turned around. There is still a bit of time. Brendan Rodgers, he's done a good job for Leicester ultimately, but it's when things are shit, like it's like Shyam said, like you can't change the players. You start looking at like what can we do, and the only thing you can think of is the manager, which can give you, this short-term bounce. But then you look at, where does it get you ahead of time, which is why a lot of us are, in a conundrum of where we feel it's very similar situations, although obviously Rodgers won the FA Cup with them, and but we're in very similar mindsets. But I think it might be like just a little bit too early to pull the trigger. They did, from the clips I've seen and from what I'm hearing, that they played well in spells against Spurs. They went up, but some sloppy individual errors, and you just think that maybe if they can just stop that, get that first, get some points, get a win, get that first win, and see where you are. I'm not sure what Leicester's fixtures are coming up.
So I was just about to jump in. Our next fixture, we do not need this fixture right now. Forest at home.
Interesting.
That is not a fixture we want right now.
They're shocking.
They are shocking, right? I mean, if Brendan's still in charge, you sort of look around. If we don't win that will be the nail in his coffin.
That one's a must win, and they've got
Forest, Bournemouth, Palace, Leeds, and then Wolves. I think.
So that's some winnable games.
There's 6 winnable games.
We've had a tough start. We've had a tough start. There's no two ways about it, right? We've played Chelsea away, Arsenal away, Spurs away. People do, but it's not those games that we're complaining about. It's being 2-0 up first game of the season at home to Brentford, right? Yeah. Losing. Drawing that game. That's the only point we've got all season. What Southampton 2-1 at home. These are games. United came to us, didn't look great, but we were atrocious. Lost that game 1-0. So
yeah, that Nottingham Forest game is going to be big. Obviously you got
Kojo Monday night
coming on the bench there. Big Jesse Lingard be warming that bench ferociously on that bench. You got to watch out for him, man. He's gonna be on that bench like nothing we've ever seen before, man.
Lawless, you never forgive and you never forget. You still keep being you, man.
Listen, everyone was saying, "Oh yeah, you're just being salty when you're saying he's not going to be good at Nottingham Forest. You're just being salty." And now I'm vindicated. He can't even start for them. He can't even start. What a bad decision. But yeah, but Leicester got to smash him.
I mean, I would argue. I think it depends how long they can wait. Forest is a difficult game because if they lose that game to Forest, or let's just say they don't win that game because they need to win now. At this point, there's never a case of draw, or they need to win. How much longer do you give him? That's why I guess the question is over the international break. Do you cut the cord now and go for someone else? Because I would argue for myself personally, I don't know how Shyam felt, but I think after he won the FA Cup, I think that was the perfect time to cut it there. Don't get me wrong. Oh, wow. You've won a trophy, and it does sound the same to say, yeah, he's won a trophy, so now let the manager go. But I felt like during that season, there was slightly a bit of a decline in results showing here and there. But they won the FA Cup. Last season, they were about up and down. They got to the Conference League semi-final. I think Roma knocked you out, if I'm correct.
Roma, yeah.
And in the last couple of games in the season, I think you lost to Newcastle and drew the other two. So for me, I just felt like I saw creaks there. Maybe that's because I haven't been a big fan of Rodgers in the past, anyway. So I've never had any confidence in him. Him managing Liverpool on top of that just top that up for me. But I look at the season, I just don't feel like there's any. I feel like Maddison's the only person that has confidence in him, if I'm being honest, because Maddison's the only one he's being vocal. So that could be why I feel like it's that way. But you look at the way they play, individual mistakes is one thing, but the collapse, if you're playing so well, to lose a game 6-2, you can't tell me you've played well.
No, we're not playing well.
You know what I'm saying?
Let's rephrase this. We're attackingly good.
Yes,
right?
But defensively
is atrocious, and
that's typical Rodgers. That's a typical Rodgers team.
But there's Rodgers and that set piece coach, because you've been horrible at set pieces.
We've just hired. I mean, that's a joke in itself, right? I think there was visa issues with the set piece coach, and he's only just turned up 10 days ago, right? I mean, set pieces over the last 18 to 24 months, it's been a joke, right? That there's Rodgers' stubbornness as well. He does not make changes quickly, right? I mean, even the other day Spurs scored 47th minute, and I think we only made our first sub after they scored again, Son's goal in the 72nd or whatever. Like, you've got to change it. He doesn't act quick enough, and that frustrates fans, right? It's all the little things that you start to see in recent. I mean, everyone says take what you hear in the media and media interviews with a pinch of salt, right? These guys are trained to say, like, I mean, Maddison's so well spoken, etc. But don't tell me that's 100% exactly how he's feeling, right? There must be but he's he's the guy who'll give that interview because he puts on shows great respect for the club and the management, which is great. Rodgers has looked beaten in interviews. It's almost like he's ready to get the sack and he's just take the money and go, right? So let's see. Yeah, I'm just done with him.
Honestly,
I'm not saying he's a bad manager, but
I think honestly with Rodgers, he found his level at Leicester, and I don't think he deserves to go up, but I also don't think he deserves to go down a level. I feel like Leicester is the right spot for him, but obviously it's not working right now. Maybe you do need a fresh injection of new blood, new ideas, new tactics. But I would be fearful of going we need to get 40 points mark with the type of managers that bring, because you've got a very, I'd say your team is very upset right now because there's a lot of players that probably want to leave, i.e. Tielemans. There's a lot of players that are your key striker for the past I don't know how many seasons he's been in the Premier League, 8 years now. Is at the end of his career, and it's obviously retirement is on the up or looking on the horizon. Kasper Schmeichel, your captain, left. Fofana, who was your diamond of your star.
I think that wasn't planned for. That was the problem, right? And that's the other issue. League Hongerton, head of recruitment, left to go to Atalanta. We then hired Martin Glover from Southampton, but wasn't due to start at Leicester until 2nd of September when the deadline's done. And it's like, where's the logic in that? Hire a head of recruitment who starts once the transfer window ends.
Yeah.
So there's
looking.
I could go on.
Look, you guy, go on, man. Go on. It is looking bleak for.
But 40 points has to be goal number one. I'm not saying that's the goal. That's got to be the goal number one of the season, right? Go and get 40 points. Whether you do that in 16 or whatever games it is, or it takes you the full remaining 32 games, but go and get 40 points.
Survive, essentially. I mean, what's your thoughts on them spending so much money on the surrounding area and the training complex rather than transfers and I guess shoring up your defense and obviously looking for replacements for key players.
They made these decisions. They made these decisions before, right? I mean, we can't. In hindsight, it's a wonderful thing to say, "Oh, look, we're sitting bottom. Why didn't we not spend that money on the team?" Right? But you look back when these decisions have been made 2 years ago. We were sitting, challenging for Champions League. You make these decisions then. You don't expect this. Fofana, you don't expect him to leave. He just signed we took him through his injury. He just signed a 5-year deal. Yep. The expectation is you get him to the end of this season. I think we always expected him to go at the end of this season, right? Big money move at the end of the year. You then have funds come in and you can replenish that across the team. So it's just bad timing as well, right? And he's had that same problem at Etienne. When he wants to go and his agent's talking, he's gone. And I still say to Chelsea fans, enjoy what you have of him, because when Real Madrid or Barca come calling in 2 or 3 years, his agent will be right in his ear again.
Yeah, it's true.
I get you. Kojo, your second team, Spurs. They're doing quite well right now. Son's down there. Didn't exactly have the best of starts to the season. Was on the bench for this game. Came on and absolutely had a storming game. Had a blinder. 3 goals in 16 minutes?
Yeah.
I mean, crazy. It was a wonderful performance from Son.
Yeah, firstly, Spurs are not playing well, so they
should be playing well.
They should be very happy that the game wins. They are very poor, but they should be happy that they're getting wins. I mean, that's the name of the game. At the end of the day, it's not about whether you play well or bad. It's about what you get to the W at the end of the day, and they're getting the wins regardless of how we think. But the benching of Son was needed because he's been poor this season. I don't want anyone to come back and be like, "Oh, this is why you don't bench him." No, he needed to be benched because he was poor. He started the season very poorly. Kulusevski and Kane started the season well. Richarlison has been in and out. He did well midweek, got his first goals. He didn't play well in this game, so that's why he came off. And that's why Son came on for him. And credit to Son, he took out his frustration on the football and he produced 3 very, very good goals. Very good goals. But that's what you want. Sometimes you need a player to have a bit of a wake up, because no matter what anyone says about last season was last season. I know joint top goal scorer. He had a good year. Helped Spurs confirm top 4. But that doesn't mean, you just carry that into this season, and because you did that last year, no matter how bad your form is, you don't get dropped. We know how good the boy is, and we know how potent he is. He can shoot left to right. You know, he's got good movement. He can shoot from distance. He makes good runs. He can create. So you know he's got it. But if he's not performing, you have to drop him. And they did so, and they got a reaction from him, and that's what they want. And I'm sure that's what they wanted ahead of their next game being the North London derby as well. So you know that's what you need from Son. And Son is a good footballer. He's gonna go away, play for South Korea, get a couple of goals there as well, because he tends to do that quite comfortably during the international break for them. So yeah, he did very well. But Spurs, it's gonna be interesting that game because you got Arsenal who's playing well and they're top, and you got Spurs who's playing well and they're also near enough to top as well. So it's gonna be interesting to see which one goes. Are Spurs gonna finally turn it up and get a result, or are they gonna play bad and still get a result, or Arsenal just gonna turn up and absolutely tuck them in their place? Who knows? But I'm interested to see how.
You know what I'm hoping for.
I know you are. You're hoping for the 5-2 heritage, right? But yeah, no. They're getting results, and that's all that matters. Me personally, I don't care about style of football too tough. I care about getting results, and Conte was brought in to get results. That's what they're getting so far this season, so they should be happy.
Should be happy. Masterclass if it's Conte. Sack him if it's Jose Mourinho. That's what I'm going to say there.
I prefer not to speak.
There we go. Lawless, I'm sorry, man. We're going to have to come to you guys now. Everton won. West Ham United, no. It was all going so well, Lawless. For the past 2 years, you've been flying. You're talking about top 4. Now you're in a relegation battle right now. It's kind of been a roller coaster for you, wouldn't you say?
Well, I would say it's too soon to call it a relegation battle.
you were saying after 3 games last year about Arsenal. I'm just returning the favor, big man.
It's not looking good. It really isn't. David Moyes is testing my patience. He's testing a lot of people's patience. A lot of fans have turned on him. A lot of Moyes out is occurring. I'm not there yet. I'm not Moyes out just now, but Moyes needs to seriously wake up because he is massively to blame for these results because he still plays the same players every week who are just honestly the worst players on form in our team. Souček, week in, week out, one of the worst players on the pitch. Jared Bowen, week in, week out, one of the worst players on the pitch. They have started every single game. Ben Rama, who started off the season, honestly, one of our best players in the team, most informed players, got dropped. He started 3 games out of 7. But Bowen and Souček are 7 out of 7. That tells you a lot. He spent £170 million on players. We don't really get to see them. They come on bit parts, come on late as subs. He put Kerr in straight away out of necessity because we have no other fit centre-backs. Everyone's coming back from injury. Paqueta, he's thrown him to a system that really doesn't suit him at all. You get a player like that, a baller, and you're playing defensive football. Why? Why have we signed him? Cornet, again, every time he comes on, he looks bright, he looks positive, he makes things happen. Can't get a start. Can't get in front of Bowen, who just is terrible week in, week out. So, when you're doing that, look, if you're trying to do your best and you're trying to make changes and you're dropping players and you're things like that, then we can forgive it when we're not getting things across the board. But the football has been terrible. Our performance is just shocking. And the decision making by Moyes is just atrocious. So, what else can I say? He deserves the pressure that's on his neck right now. He just absolutely deserves it. And I said someone said, oh, well, what if, the players, that he gets aren't Moyes players or, and I'm not trying to hear about this one's not a Moyes player. That's not a Moyes player. If they're not your signings, and you didn't want these players and that's why you're not playing them, then leave the club. Because at the end of the day, we're not here to be spending money on players that you're not going to play and not going to be used. It's completely counterproductive. So either if players are getting bought for you that you don't want, either play them and make them work and make it happen, or actually have some balls and say, look, this ain't what I signed up for. I wanted to veto the players, but I don't believe that. These have to be his players. He spent 18 months looking for a striker. You know, Scamacca, 18 months we went without replacing Sebastian Haller. So I'm not trying to hear anything. I don't want to hear that Scamacca's not good enough. He don't fit the league. He don't fit the team. No, Scamacca has to work. Paqueta has to work. Not every signing is going to be a hit, but listen, most of them, with how long Moyes was taking, we didn't sign anyone in January when we could have used that to kick on and get win the Europa League or get back into the top 6. That could have been what we needed, but he didn't freshen up the team because I want to wait. I don't want to just sign players for the sake of signing them. I want to really find the right players. That's what he said. So he's waited to find the right players, and he don't play them. He's not starting. It's just so frustrating. He changes up systems. He changes up, you know, like, oh, we're going to play a back 5. We're going to play a back 4. We just look the same, whatever he plays. And like Creswell found his way back into the team when Emerson has done nothing wrong. Emerson's been decent. And he just dropped, like, everyone just accepted, oh, okay, Emerson's our first choice left back now. Out of nowhere, like, for seemingly no reason, Creswell's starting the game. It's that when managers start making crazy decisions, it's hard to sympathize with them. It's hard to say, you know, the players, once the players click, once the players gel, then we're going to get going. I can't see anything right now. You're looking for them signs where you go, do you know what? It's just going to take time. It's going to take a few more games. You know, once Scamacca, you know, and Bowen and like 4 hours, and they all get an understanding. They understand the way each other plays and all of that. I'm not seeing any signs, and that's what's worrying me. So the form, even going towards the end of last season, is bad. You know what? I looked at that picture of Son, and I thought it was like Basil or something. I had the corner of my eye raising their hand. I just see that, like, you see, oh, can I speak now? Okay, I have a question. They threw me off completely. It's Moyesey, but yeah, no, like our form is like for the last, you know, since January, it's been atrocious, and it's been papered over by what we did in Europe. You know, we was okay losing games regularly in the Prem because okay, we beat Lyon, you know, and we're through to the next round. We beat Sevilla. Like it because it didn't matter. It was like, cool, we don't care about that as long as we win this, you know, it's fine. And it just completely papered over the league form. And now we're doing it again. We're winning week in, week out in Europe, but our league form's gone to shit. And it shouldn't be an excuse now because we've got a deeper squad. And it's just these like Flynn Downs, who we signed as, you know, that you know, as a rated midfielder to come in and play with Declan Rice, potentially challenge Souček. He had a man in the match performance the other week against Bucharest, and then next week, you know, against Silkeborg, he's nowhere to be seen, and everyone's thinking, oh, he's going to play against Everton, and he's nowhere to be seen against Everton. So it don't make sense how the way he drops some players and doesn't drop others. It don't make any sense at all. So that's why the pressure has to be on his neck, because you're just making mad decisions. And then other players who you are, like Ben Rama, just gets dropped mercilessly. How must he feel? Every time when he's coming on, he's making things happen and he's creating goals, he's getting an assist, he's getting a goal there, creating chances, and he just gets dropped. And then Bowen's there, losing the ball constantly. Souček's there, can't make a simple 5-yard pass. And they're starting. The Souček, honestly, we're not scoring goals at all. We scored like 2 goals from open play all season. With the attackers that we have, which tells you there's a problem there. 1, in the system, and 2, in the way we're playing in the midfield and being able to actually pass the ball. The amount of times where Antonio was getting into space and Souček would have the ball and it's like, just pass it into the space. Put that ball into that space that Antonio's running into. No, stop and pass it sideways. Same happened with, there's a clip with Declan Rice. He passes the ball to Souček. Souček turns around. This is like 93 minutes when we're chasing him. He turns around, does a shit pass back to the defense where Soufal now has to run all the way back and try and win it while they're being chased down by an Everton player. Stuff like that. But he starts every game. How can you justify that?
Dan, do you think he's got to a stage where he's doing this whole sort of like, you know how some managers have the dependable, sort of like how we're all criticizing Southgate right now because his England selection is definitely not on merit. You know, if you get what okay. So because I'm looking at Scamacca. Scamacca came for about £40 million. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a great season last year. So obviously that's the reason why you've brought him in. Antonio has been running to the ground. We'll put his, I will anyway, put his goal scoring or lack of goal scoring to the side for one moment. The guy's been running to the ground. He played league games and Europa League games for you last season, so he didn't get a rest. And he only got injured. He was out for 1 or 2 games and immediately brought back into the lineup. You've got a striker who's fit and ready to go. He scored in, I think, both the games that he's played in the Conference League. Why is he not starting in the Premier League either? Do you think it's just a case of, I know these guys and they are, I hate this term, Prem proven. So they are more than capable of doing the job whilst these guys, I don't know, settle in or...
But this is the thing, right? With Southgate, I look at it as like, okay, so they're not playing well in the Prem, but he's like, well, when they play for me, they play well. So you can even just see the justification there. Right. And with Moyes, when I look at, okay, these players have been players that have been like, Bowen was amazing last season. Antonio, you know, started the season really well. You know, he suits us. He's a threat. He causes defenses problems. You know, Souček has been good in the past, but they're not doing the job for you now. They're not doing it. It's not working. So you can't. And this is why I had so many fans, like West Ham fans, saying, "Oh, he's probably trying to play Bowen into form." Like, what does that mean? Why does Bowen get played into form and Ben Rama don't get played into form? Like, why? So how long are we gonna every week? He's just shit until he's good, until he eventually comes good, and that's what we do. Look at Son. Son was shit all season. Didn't score any goals. What did his content? He finally dropped him. Comes on and scores a hat-trick. I'm not saying it could be as quick as that, but you need to be able to drop players so they can realize, boy, it's not working for me. I need to get some hunger and desire back to get back into that team. Because the players that can't get ahead, the Cornets and the flipping Ben Ramas and that who can't get ahead of this guy are sitting there. They're going to be thinking, well, what the fuck is the point in me being here? Like, if I'm coming on and showing, you know, promise and we're improving when I come on the pitch and I can't get ahead of this guy, that shit, just because he was good last season, what is the point? It's so frustrating. Scamacca, on the Scamacca thing, like, this guy is a proper striker. He is quality. So if we're playing Bowen into form, why are we not playing Scamacca, giving him minutes so he's getting used to the league and adapting to the league? Why can't we give him time? And this is Moyes' idea was like, I don't want to play them straight away because, you know, if they're not ready yet, then everyone's going to judge them and it's going to put pressure on them. No, like we can give them time. Play Scamacca, let him be shit for a few games and score no goals, but he'll get used to the league and find the level and get used to defenses and things like that, you know, and get used to the players that he's going to be playing with. Where just playing him in the Conference League every week, you know, he's going to get used to playing with certain players, but a lot of them players don't play in the Prem. It's not doing as much for him as you're going to give him this little cameo in the Prem. If Antonio's not doing it, and I can't even blame Antonio really for the Everton game because he just was not getting the service. The passing was as bad as I've ever seen it. The way we was just giving the ball away with just sloppy passes. It's not good enough. It's really not good enough. And like I'd say about half the fans now have turned Moyes out. And there's other half going. Oh. Yes, it's looking. I mean, look, you judge by social media and that, but even when I was at the ground, you know, a lot of fans losing their patience with him. There's a lot of people that Moyes out. And I'm not there yet, but I can understand it. It's frustrating. And yes, he gave us.
Do you not have credit in the bank, though, for the past 2 seasons? Yes, I understand that you didn't exactly finish well last season, but you were still in with a run for the Europa League, which you haven't been in. Or you were in with him, but you hadn't been in for a while as well. And I feel like it's getting to that stage where West Ham repeat cycles, where you want a manager that can play some nice football, from decent football, grind or not, win some games quite flashily, play some very uh, the West Ham way, which was the phrase a long while ago, but that came back to circulation. And then you go back to people like David Moyes, who are gritty and grind out results and get you playing a certain way. And on that, I don't think those players are his. I don't think Paqueta is his. I don't even think Tilo Kehrer is his. I feel like your board were trying to move forward and move to a different style, because Paqueta does not seem like the type of attacking midfielder that David Moyes would want. Paqueta is a luxury player. I'd say.
Moyes said himself during the window, he was interviewed and said, we need another Payet, Dimitri Payet. So he identified that he wanted a player in, I'm not saying Paqueta and Payet. Paqueta, has a lot more all round to his game. Payet is definitely just, better creatively, but Paqueta has a better all round game, but he's a flair player. Like he said, that's the sort of player he wants. And he brings him in. And look, I don't have a problem if we're going to play defensive football, right? If we're not going to play fancy football or whatever, like works for Spurs and that, and like you've got to play it effectively. And the point is that we're just looking shit. We're playing shit football, but we're playing it shit. We're playing shit football shit. Right? It's not good. We're not doing it like, at least when you look at Big Sam's games, it's like, okay, we're organizing this team and it's not going to be pretty to watch, but it's going to be effective. It's not effective. And we've spent £170 million to play like this. So I don't even like, my mindset isn't like, let's just get a manager in that will play like attractive football. Let's get a manager in that can get the best out of these players and actually play well with them. And that's the thing. Yeah, he does have credit in the bank. Of course, he has credit in the bank. However, like spending that money does put pressure on you massively. It has to, like, you're putting a target on your back because you've been heavily backed. There's no like, oh, if he had this, if he had that. So when we look at it and you think, geez, like, this is what we look like when you're backed and we're not finding a way out of it, what are we expecting? Because if we're in a relegation battle after spending £170 million, you deserve to lose your job. You deserve it. And when you're making decisions, like if say he'd been playing Cornet and he'd be playing Scamacca, and all the new signings were in there, Paqueta's in there, Emerson, we could then look at it and go, okay, they've got to get up to speed, but they're not playing, and it's the players from last season that are our worst players, and the players that we've had for a while, and he's not dropping them. So that's why the pressure rightly is coming on his neck. And if he refuses to drop them and he keeps doing it and they keep playing shit, you deserve to lose your job. Like, put it in any real life situation. If we make mistakes in our jobs and we keep making those mistakes and it's blatantly obvious what the mistakes are and we keep making them, well, guess what? We're going to end up losing our jobs. You get told about it. This is the mistake. You're not learning from the mistakes. So it doesn't matter like what you've achieved in the past. They're not going to look at it and go, do you know what? Cahil, he really came through for us a couple of years ago. Yeah, maybe it'll buy you a few more weeks, a few more chances. Yeah. But eventually they're going to go, this guy's not learning. Yeah. This ain't working out. So he needs to adapt. We can't be playing no 5 at the back. We can't be playing Paqueta and playing so defensively to the point where his strengths can't be realized. You've signed players like Scamacca and like Paqueta, so play to their strengths. Did it with Haller. We had Haller, who we didn't sign, so we gave him a pass. Said, well, he's not his signing, so it makes sense. I understand why we're not playing to his strengths because Moyes wants to play how he wants to play. Now you've signed these players, play to their strengths. It's just so frustrating, and the Wolves game is big. We talked about Leicester's next games. Obviously, we've got Wolves, Fulham, and Southampton.
All very winnable.
Points, mate. I want 9 points out of that. 6 points minimum. If he gets any less than 6, he has to go. He has to go. And that Wolves game, that's Wolves at home. We need to win that game. If we don't win that game, it's going to be long for him. Because he's at home and the pressure's going to be on. You've got 2 weeks now with this international break to sort the issues out and go into that game planning. But if we see Souček on that pitch, if we see Bowen on that pitch, if we see Creswell on that pitch, and we lose that game or don't win, you have to go. I'm done at that point. I'm not trying to. I don't care about us getting to the semi-final. We lost that semi-final, by the way. He's loyalty to Aaron Creswell. He had Creswell on the pitch when he should have had Johnson playing there. The guy who made the same mistake in the previous round. This is the issue. He's loyalty to certain players that constantly just let you down, and he won't drop them. He won't change it. Give someone else a chance. We've seen it before. So, yeah, the clock's ticking. Basically, the pressure's on, and I'm losing my patience big time.
You know what Lawless described there, Kojo? The definition of insanity.
Yeah, and he might just be losing his damn mind. It looks that way.
Basil, you've been quiet for a minute. Then maybe because you're reflecting on your poor choice of KDB over Vieira. What's your thoughts on this West Ham?
He's thinking like, how has Souček gone off the ball? Like, he was better than Vieira last season. And this season, I don't even know what's happening.
Do you know
Lawless, one question before I go to Basil. Would you take Ndombele now? He's playing quite well for Napoli.
Nah, fuck it, Ndombele.
Anyway, Basil, let's go. Final word.
Do you know what? It doesn't surprise me. This was always coming. The issue is with Moyes. Moyes just isn't a progressive manager, and I agree with everything that Dan says. With progressive managers, you give them better players that are better. Players are better than the players you currently have in your squad, and you ask them to change things and work with them. As Dan alluded to, the issue you have with Moyes is that, as you said, that he just has dependables, like players that he's always going to play because he just, I wouldn't even say finds them reliable. They're just, in his mind, they're his players. And I look at that as a progressive manager, when a club brings you better players, you find ways to integrate them in the team. For me, Antonio shouldn't be starting games anymore. He has purple patches, but then when he goes off the ball, he goes off the ball. So he's never a consistent player throughout the whole season. They brought in Scamacca, Cornet with better quality than Antonio. He's not using them. I agree with that. Ben Rama, when I've seen him, has played well this season, but he's always in and out of the squad. Bowen starts regularly. Don't understand that. Souček, for me, okay, he's done a good job in the past, but you need to go past having Souček, because for me, he doesn't have the necessary quality to take you to the next step. And I just look at Moyes and I'm like, well, it doesn't matter who you could give him Messi. You still wouldn't find a way to get things going with Messi in his squad, because we're looking at that Messi doesn't do the things that I want the squad to do, even though he has better qualities than every other player in his squad. And
imagine starting Antonio over Messi.
He would happily do it. And it goes back to even at his time at United. When he went to United, just look at the caliber of players he was requesting to come in at United. And that just tells you the type of manager he is. He's not the progressive. Like a progressive manager does what he does, says bring me better players, and I look at ways to take the club to the next level with these group of players that have come into the squad. Not Moyes. You bring in those players, he says, I'll try to get us there with what we have already. And maybe if I'm feeling happy or chirpy, I might integrate these new players. Because there's no reason why the likes of Cornet or Scamacca aren't playing more games than they're currently playing under Moyes. But anyway, that's just Moyes. For me, it's like he's of the Stone Age type of managers. He's never going to change.
Never gonna change, and that might be his downfall. But anyway, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you guys for listening. If you want to listen to more of the Match Report, like and subscribe to the channel. There we go. It's very, very simple. It's very, very easy. But first, before we go, we need to find out where all you beautiful people can be found. So, Shyam, we're going to start with you. Where can they find you, sir?
On Twitter, I need to become more active, but at Korea Shyam, you'll see me on today's. I think you guys have retweeted it a few times on who's on, but yeah.
Basil, where can they find you, sir?
You can find me at BJKers14 on Twitter. A lot happier, a lot more positive about Arsenal. And don't worry, I'll rectify my wrongs by tweeting Vieira is the greatest Premier League midfielder on Twitter.
Damage is done. Damage is done now. Recording.
Too late
to apologize. One Republic. Lawless, where can they find you, sir?
Yes, at the Lawless on Twitter. Can also find me West Ham Fan TV, London Clubs Carnage show on Mars. I always forget how he pronounces his name's Matisse, but his channel's called MAH, and it's like, what are you, Matt?
Yeah.
What is that? Just call it Matisse. Yeah, there every Tuesday. So check that out.
Yeah. Can I say one final thing before you guys? I think we need more West Ham defeats because we need more breakdowns from Dan, because when it was Arsenal, we saw what Dan was doing. So I enjoyed what I heard from Dan today.
It's the tortoise and the hare, right? Remember the story of the tortoise and the hare, yeah? You're the hare, we're the tortoise. So the time will come.
Yeah, but you don't realize, Dan, we were the tortoise. We were
exactly.
You were the hare, I'm afraid. You were the hare. But Kojo, where can they find us, sir?
They can find us here, YouTube, the Match Report, and all your audios and all your socials, Free Midfield. Free Midfield podcast and the Match Report on YouTube.
There you have it. Thank you guys for listening. Good night.
Oh, before Scholes is number 1.